Hello everyone, and welcome to my Days of Our Lives official. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Johnny calls Chanel a cheating slut and storms out of the hospital bed after she lies to him, sleeps with Alex, and repeats everything he misheard and misinterpreted on today's episode of Days of Our Lives. She breathes deeply. As Alex tells Johnny how hard Chanel worked on everything, Johnny emerges to the nurse's station, stunned by his surprise birthday and all the smiling people. Chanel tells her husband, icily, surprise, as she approaches from behind and everyone else yells, "Happy birthday! You must be feeling rather foolish at the moment. Since you need to be." Days, Johnny confronts Chanel. As the song comes to an end, she silently glares. After standing in disbelief, Johnny blows out his candles while Chanel yells at him to make a wish. Without paying attention, Alex babbles on, and Chanel cautions him about using the knife he gives Johnny in case he is stabbed. To everyone's surprise, she tells him what Johnny thinks. After claiming that Seth is solely to blame, he clarifies that Stephanie is actually Faith and not Chanel. Johnny knows he walked in on them as Alex and Steph haltingly describe how they ended up fighting. Chanel gives him another sneer, tells him to shut up, and then thrusts a piece of cake in his face as he turns around. Days Abe observes, cross-armed, as Kate speaks to him in their body and soul office. Thanks to Marlena's assistance in eliminating Charlemagne, Kate is in a positive mood when she welcomes Abe to their office. The passing of a cherished character is such a moment. The crowd watches for scenes like that. Abe wants her to play Lorna, and they discuss the need for a new diva to oppose Cassandra. No. Abe then praises Joy as they continue their conversation about Reagan. The possibility that they have located their housewrecker makes Kate very happy. However, Paulina interrupts to brief Abe and Kate before they choose her, then accuses Abe of bringing Alex and Chanel together. Like any man, Johnny became envious. Abe claims he was unaware of Johnny's problems and paranoia. Johnny, in his opinion, was more evolved than EJ. When things settle down, Abe believes they'll both see it's a misunderstanding. Not in Paulina's opinion. When Chanel is in pain, you should be cautious. Days as Kate observes and Paulina describes what transpired, Abe holds his head. As Stephanie tells Alex how appalled she is that Johnny witnessed them having sex, Leo and Bonnie joyfully eat the cake by themselves back at the hospital. Stephanie yells at Seth when he approaches, accusing him of not knowing who she is, even though they have already met. Seth then inquires as to whether she believes the producers would be interested in learning that the two shared a bed on the site. Johnny tries to explain why he lost it, but Chanel won't let him apologize as he follows him back into the room. "Johnny, do you not trust me?" He lists all the connections to reassure him, but Chanel argues that the evidence just leads to adultery since he thinks she would cheat on him. She notices that he is missing his wedding band as she glances down at his hand. She continues to berate him and rejects all of his attempts at apology. She's finally had enough. Leave. Days in the hospital room, Johnny and Chanel argue, with her displaying distress and him making helpless motions. Nancy is waiting in her room when Joy arrives. Nancy doesn't waste any time in asking her daughter whose wedding ring she found in the room, even if she claims the audition went really well. What the heck? Nancy reminds her daughter that Craig repeatedly cheated on her, which is how her marriage to her father ended. Right here in this hotel. Alongside Leo Stark. Unaware that Joy is betraying the poor man's wife, Nancy feels sorry for her. She maintains that the man's circumstances are completely different from those of her parents. It's not all black and white, the man's wife is cheating on him. Nancy states, "I am well aware of the gray areas, but that doesn't give him the right to sleep there." Joy doesn't say if she had sex with the man or not. And Nancy stops when she admits that she loves Joy and is scared. "Oh, please, you're not interested in me. In the first place, you didn't want me." They discuss Nancy's lack of concern when she requires things from her, such as bone marrow for Chloe. Perplexed? Visit this link to see Joy's unorthodox idea. Joy was the gift of a lifetime, according to Nancy. Days in Joy's room, Nancy displays Johnny's wedding ring with an unhappy expression. Joy gives a shrug. All right, you adore me. However, their problems remain unresolved. However, she expresses regret for making Nancy feel guilty. She then updates her mother about the audition and its success. After congratulating her, Nancy tries to find out more details about the ring. Joy, on the other hand, takes it and walks. Kate appears at the hospital in the last seconds of the show, accepts Stephanie's apology, but chastises her and Alex and suggests that she terminate them. However, they can continue to work. Take this as your first and last warning. They must avoid one another at all costs. Leo thinks that Hattie is solely to blame for the curse as he and Bonnie flee with the cake to the square. Nancy comes over at that very moment. Well. Unless the homewrecker is involved. Dazed Chanel sobs as she gives Paulina a strong embrace. Outside the bar, Joy locates Johnny and returns his ring. He accepts it with embarrassment. And when Paulina arrives, Chanel is hyperventilating in the hospital room before sobbing in her mother's arms. On Days of Our Lives, Xander considers Kristen's offer, Stefan and Gabby consider getting a divorce, and EJ tries to get Fiona to accept. Days of Our Lives finally introduced us to Nancy's daughter Joy, whom we had been eager to meet for a while, following her recent return to Salem today. Even though we were aware that they were both coming, we can see why some fans would not know who Joy is and why it's difficult for them to recall her, let alone identify her. In summary, Joy wasn't truly introduced to us until Alex N. Hopkins brought her to our screens. She was born in 2003, and her most recent appearance on television was in 2005. After Nancy, Craig, and Joy relocated to New York City, we didn't see Chloe's younger sister again until recently. She's grown from a toddler to an adult enough to share a beer with Johnny in that time. As the two of them sit in the small bar drinking beer and conversing, dazed Joy looks at Johnny. However, Joy, a word of caution, never ask a stranger to get you a drink in a bar while you're not there. And of course, never consume anything you left unattended with strangers. Despite the fact that we don't yet know a lot about Joy, her unusual birth may provide us some insight into who she is. Joy was created in order to save Chloe's life, you see. We're not implying that her parents don't love and care for her, but to be honest, she was essentially made as spare parts. Chloe had leukemia at the time, and no one could match her for the bone marrow transplant she required. Mom and Dad felt there was only one thing to do after learning that Craig was Chloe's father and having him tested to see whether he was a match. In order to donate bone marrow, they would conceive a new child. Patrika Darbo and Kevin Spertus, Craig, Nancy, Joy's birth, JPI, and Days. More, getting ready for Salem life without John. Despite the difficult pregnancy, Nancy eventually gave birth to a young girl who turned out to be Chloe's ideal match. And Nancy and Craig chose to name daughter Joy because she made their lives so much more joyful. As we previously stated, Nancy obviously loves her youngest child. In fact, she wants to do everything in her power to get her on body and soul. However, Nancy is also aware of how much of a handful Joy has grown, with a propensity for stirring up trouble. We would also understand if the newest member of Salem has a slight grudge. You must feel the weight of being the bonus child. But for all of us who like a little more drama on our TVs, it might work out. Joy might end up being just what the doctor prescribed for Salem. There haven't been many plotters like Sloane, Gwen, Nicole, or Sammy. Sophia has potential, but a high school student can only do so much harm. Don't tell Sammy what we said. Salem might be in for a lot of problems if Joy truly does inherit her mother's traits while also feeling like she has something to prove all the time. This makes for entertaining viewing.